Right now, somewhere in America, a plumber is earning $12,000 to run plastic tubing through a brand new $600,000 home. That tubing will fail in 15 years. The fittings he pushed onto the ends of that tubing will start weeping by year 7. And the water heater he bolted to the wall? It is sized wrong, vented wrong, and it came off a pallet at a big box store that paid a lobbying firm to weaken the building code that was supposed to stop him from installing it that way. We got a comment last week from a woman named Linda Marsh in Raleigh, North Carolina. She bought a new construction home in 2021. 4 years later, she came home to find her kitchen subfloor had turned to pulp. A Pushfit fitting behind the dishwasher had been slowly weeping since day 1, releasing less than a cup of water a day, directly onto the engineered floor joists she did not know she had. The remediation cost her $22,000. The builder's warranty had expired 11 months earlier. The plumber who pulled the permit had long since moved to another county. She had nobody to call and no legal recourse whatsoever. Linda is not an outlier. According to insurance industry data, residential water damage is the #1 source of homeowner losses in the United States for the 3rd year in a row, surpassing fire, theft, and storm damage combined. And the majority of those claims are not from burst pipes in a polar vortex. They are from slow, invisible failures. Failures that were built into the house on purpose. In this investigation, we are going to pull back the drywall. We are going to expose 5 specific ways that modern residential plumbing is engineered to fail. The Pushfit fitting scam, the PEX-grade deception, the builder-grade fixture conspiracy, the water heater sizing lie, and the plastic drain disaster. And at the end, we are going to give you the 3 specific actions that will protect you before the walls close up and you lose your only chance. To understand why residential plumbing has collapsed in quality, you have to understand who is making the decisions. The plumber on the job site did not choose the fittings. He did not choose the pipe grade. He did not choose the water heater brand, the fixture spec, or the drain pipe material. Those decisions were made in a purchasing meeting between the volume builder's procurement department and a supply chain representative, and the only question on the table was the price per unit. Not the service life, not the failure rate, the price per unit. Volume builders operate on margin. A 2,000 square foot house might generate $80,000 in gross profit for the builder. Every dollar saved in materials is a dollar that goes directly to the bottom line. When a purchasing manager switches from PEX-A to PEX-B across a development of 400 homes, he saves $180 per house. That is $72,000 dropped directly into the quarterly earnings report. The homeowner who absorbs the difference in service life is not in that meeting. She never gets a vote. She gets a warranty card that expires in 12 months. This is the machine. Now let us show you how each part of it fails. For most of the 20th century, a properly sweated copper joint was one of the most reliable connections in construction. A licensed plumber with a torch and a handful of solder could fuse metal to metal in a bond that would outlast the building around it. We have copper water lines from the 1940s still in service today. Not because they got lucky, because the physics of the connection is sound. Then the supply chain decided this was too slow and too expensive. Enter the Pushfit fitting. You know these, the plastic and brass connectors. Sharkbite is the most famous brand, that snap onto a pipe in 3 seconds with no tools, no flame, and no training. The manufacturers call it a revolution in plumbing convenience. Volume builders call it a labor cost reduction. What it actually is an O-ring doing the job that used to be done by fused metal. Inside that fitting is a rubber O-ring, EPDM rubber to be specific, and a set of stainless steel teeth that grip the pipe. Under controlled conditions, the O-ring holds. But here is what the marketing materials do not tell you. Every municipal water system in America treats its water with chloramines. Chloramines are a disinfectant. They are also a slow, systematic destroyer of EPDM rubber. They attack the molecular structure of the O-ring, drying it out, cracking it, stripping away its elasticity. This process takes years, not decades, years. The second scam, the PEX grade deception. If your home was built after 2010, your supply lines are probably not copper at all. They are PEX, cross-linked polyethylene, a flexible plastic tubing that has overtaken the new construction market because it resists freezing, installs quickly, and costs a fraction of copper. PEX itself is not inherently bad. That distinction matters. The problem is the grade being used and the fittings connecting it. There are three types of PEX. PEX-A is manufactured using a process called the Engel method. It produces a pipe with molecular memory. When you expand it and sleeve it over a fitting, the pipe actively contracts around the connection as it cools, pulling itself tighter over time. It is self-reinforcing, it is forgiving, it is the gold standard. It costs more, and volume builders do not use it. They use PEX-B and PEX-C, connected with crimp rings, copper or stainless steel bands squeezed over the pipe with a crimping tool. The crimp system works when it is executed correctly. But correctly means the ring seated exactly 0.2 inches from the end of the fitting, crimped to within a specific range of compression force, on a pipe that is not kinked, on a fitting that is inserted fully to the shoulder. In a piece rate environment where a plumber is running pipe through a 2,400 square foot house as fast as he can move, these tolerances get compressed along with the crimp rings. A joint that fails the pressure test gets cut and redone. A joint that barely passes, and every pressure test has a margin of barely passing, gets drywalled over. And then there are the fittings. Cheap brass fittings made with high zinc content are vulnerable to a process called dezincification. Municipal water chemistry slowly strips the zinc out of the brass alloy. The metal becomes porous. The fitting crumbles from the inside out. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, invisibly, until the pressure finds the gap. This failure mode has been documented in engineering literature since the 1970s. The industry has known about it for 50 years. Dezincification-resistant brass fittings exist and cost pennies more per unit. Volume builders use the cheap ones because pennies per unit across 400 houses is $24,000 per development. The third scam, the builder-grade fixture conspiracy. Walk into the bathroom of any new construction home in America and you will see a Moen faucet, a Kohler shower head, a Delta pressure balance valve. Real brands, brands with genuine reputations built over decades. You recognize them. This is deliberate. What you are not told is that every one of these manufacturers produces two completely separate product lines. The retail line, the one you buy off the shelf at a hardware store, uses ceramic disc cartridges, brass valve bodies, and components designed for 20 to 30 years of daily service. The builder grade line uses plastic cartridges, plastic valve seats, and rubber washers engineered to a different specification. They look identical on the outside. They carry the same logo. But the insides are calibrated to a different finish line. Survive the warranty period. 1 year. The builder does not pay retail for your fixtures. He pays a negotiated volume price for units spec'd to the minimum. When you add up the savings across every faucet in every bathroom, every shower valve, every toilet fill valve, and every kitchen fixture in a single house, the builder captures roughly $600 in material cost. Over the first 10 years of ownership, you will spend approximately $1,800 in service calls and cartridge replacements on fixtures that should have lasted 3 decades. The builder captured the $600. You are paying the $1,800. That transaction happened without your knowledge or consent the day you signed the purchase agreement. The fourth scam, the water heater sizing lie. The water heater in your new home is almost certainly too small, and it may be slowly poisoning the air in the room it sits in. Volume builders select water heater sizes using a rule of thumb. 1 bedroom equals 1 estimate. They do not perform a manual J-load calculation that accounts for the actual flow rate of the showers installed, the number of simultaneous users, or the demand of the appliances connected to the hot water loop. A proper calculation takes an engineer's time. A rule of thumb is free. So you get the rule of thumb, and you get a cold shower every morning, and you think that is just how it is. But the size is the inconvenience. The installation is the danger. In a gas water heater, the vent connection is the most critical safety element in the appliance. Combustion gases, including carbon monoxide, must be drafted up and out of the building continuously. This requires proper negative pressure in the flue, the correct pipe diameter, the correct slope, and verified clearances at the draft hood. In a house built by piece-rate subcontractors working against the clock, these details get compressed. The vent connector runs 2 inches shorter than the specification. The slope reverses at a joist bay. The draft hood gets blocked by insulation that crept into the mechanical closet. None of these errors will show up on a standard inspection. The inspector opens the door, sees the unit is strapped to the wall, and marks the box. He is not running a combustion analysis. He has 40 houses on his schedule this week. What he leaves behind is a gas appliance that is chronically, subtly misbehaving. Not enough to trip the carbon monoxide detector in the hallway. Just enough to slowly degrade the heat exchanger, contaminate the air in the mechanical room, and reduce the service life of an appliance that should last 12 years down to 6. When it fails expensively. And in the worst case, before it fails, it kills you quietly in your sleep. The fifth scam, the plastic drain disaster nobody talks about. Everything above involves the supply side, the pipes that deliver water under pressure. Now we need to talk about the drain, waste, and vent system. Because this is where the most invisible, longest-lasting failure is being built into the structure of your house. For most of the 20th century, residential drain systems were cast iron. Heavy, difficult to cut, expensive to install, and essentially indestructible. Cast iron pipes from 1910 are still in service in buildings across this country. They are acoustically quiet. They handle thermal cycling without moving. They are chemically inert in the drain environment. Volume builders stopped using cast iron because it costs 3 times as much as plastic and requires skilled labor to cut and hang correctly. They replaced it with ABS, black plastic pipe, cut with a handsaw and glued in minutes by anyone with a bucket of cement. And in a climate-controlled interior, ABS has a serviceable life. But 2 things happen in practice that the spec sheet does not account for. The first is joint creep from thermal cycling. Hot water from the morning shower, cold water from the washing machine, hours of nothing in between. Plastic expands and contracts with every cycle. Solvent-welded joints at the fittings absorb that movement over years. The joint does not fail all at once. It slowly, imperceptibly begins to allow sewer gas to seep into the wall cavity. Hydrogen sulfide, methane, and trace organic compounds that at low levels smell like sulfur and at higher levels are toxic and combustible. The second failure is slope. The building code requires 1/4 inch of drop per foot of horizontal drain run. Less than that, and solids accumulate instead of traveling to the stack. In a piece-rate environment where the plumber is laying horizontal drain pipe across a floor system that may not be perfectly level, the actual installed slope is nobody's responsibility to verify. The inspector runs a flow test. He watches water drain and confirms the pipe is not completely flat. He is not measuring slope with an instrument. He is watching water move. Water will move on almost no slope at all. The chronic underslope gets drywalled into your first floor ceiling and becomes your permanent problem. Slow drains, chronic odors, recurring clogs. For the entire life of the house. All 5 of these failures could theoretically be caught and corrected by the licensing and inspection system. That system has been deliberately weakened. In most states, a licensed master plumber is not required to be physically present during the rough-in. He is required to pull the permit and be reachable for inspection. In practice, this means a single master plumber carries active permits for a dozen job sites simultaneously, signing off on work performed by laborers he will never personally meet, on schedules he does not control. He pulls the permits. He collects the fee. He moves on. The inspection is a visual confirmation, not an audit. An inspector walking a framed house can see that pipes are present and that gross code violations are absent. He cannot verify crimp ring placement. He cannot verify vent slope. He cannot assess fitting grade or pipe quality. He runs a pressure test and a flow test, and if water moves and nothing bursts, the inspection passes. The walls close, the problems go with them. When the failures surface at year 4 or year 7, the master plumber's liability has been distributed across hundreds of permits and insulated by his carrier. The volume builder's warranty has expired. The subcontractor who physically ran the pipe has reorganized under a new LLC. You are the only party in this chain who has no escape hatch. You are standing in your kitchen, watching the cabinet fall off the wall, and the entire system that was supposed to protect you was structured, from the beginning, to ensure that when this happened, it was your problem alone. This is not bad luck. This is the design. What you can actually do. None of this means every plumber is criminal and every new home is doomed. It means you have to stop trusting the permit sticker and start protecting yourself at the only moment you have leverage, before the walls close. If you are buying new construction, demand a pre-drywall plumbing inspection from a private inspector. Not the one the builder recommends, your own. This is the one window where everything is visible. The fitting placement, the vent slope, the water heater clearances, the drain line grade. That window stays open for days. Once the drywall goes up, it is gone forever. A qualified plumbing inspector will cost you $300 to $500. The remediation that Linda Marsh in Raleigh paid for when that window had closed cost her $22,000. If you are hiring a plumber for renovation or repair work, ask 2 specific questions before you sign anything. First, will the work use PEX-A with expansion fittings or soldered copper? Second, will any Pushfit fittings be installed inside wall or floor cavities? If the answer to the second question is yes, find a different plumber. There is no argument that justifies an O-ring inside a wall you cannot inspect. If you are buying an existing home, add a drain camera inspection to your standard home inspection. A camera run through the main sewer line will show you the actual condition of the waste system: root intrusion, joint separation, belly sections where the pipe has sagged and holds standing water. It costs $150 to $250, and it is the only way to see what 15 years of inadequate slope has deposited in the drain running under your living room floor. The water inside your walls does not respect the warranty expiration date. It does not care about quarterly earnings. It will find every path of least resistance, and in a house built to hit a margin target, those paths are more numerous than you want to know. Stop trusting the brand name on the fitting. Stop trusting the sticker on the permit box. The only person in this entire transaction with a long-term financial stake in the performance of your plumbing is you. The builder has already been paid. The plumber has already left. The inspector has already moved on to the next house. Act like the person who has to live with the consequences, because you are.